All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS, and Shalom to you brothers that's pushing this truth. I'm Karata Zabah, back with another show. And this lesson I'm going to entitle Perilous Times Shall Come. And that's based off the scripture here on the screen, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. So what we're going to do, we're just going to read it and get understanding what these perilous times are. All right. So this is 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1, and it reads, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." All right. And it says perilous times. Let's look up this word perilous.
Strong's G 5467. Chalepas. Chalepas.
Okay. Chalipas. This is hard to do, to take, to approach, hard to bear, troublesome, dangerous, harsh, fierce, savage. Okay, so that's what these perilous times are. All right. As I say on the top of the screen, difficult times will come. Okay, so this is associated with, harsh times, difficult times. Now, what are these difficult times? All right, because this is not necessarily talking about, difficult times of the world, or like, dealing with like plagues and economic collapse. This ain't dealing with anything like that. These difficult times are difficult times within the church, all right, amongst so-called believers, amongst guys calling themselves Israelites, okay? So this is what Paul is warning Timothy of, about these perilous times, these difficult times. Now, what do these difficult times consist of? Now it reads verse 2. It says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy." Right? So within the churches, you're going to have believers who are sincere and serving the Lord in sincerity. But what's going to be trouble times towards those believers are the ones a part of the church that's phony, all right? That's false prophets, that's unholy, doing all the wrong things and being a burdensome to the church, okay? So it says, for men shall, I read that verse 2 again, it says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy." And that's what you have amongst guys calling themselves Israelites, okay? Guys blaspheming. You have Hassad in the car saying that the names of the Most High and the Son is not Yahweh and Yahweh Shah anymore. Okay, God's disobedience to parents, God's disobedience to their actual parents, but also their spiritual parents, the ones who taught them the word, and now they're being disobedient towards their elders who taught them. Okay, proud, covetous. People are covetous, wanting what others have, want to take your money. Okay, teaching for hire, teaching for gain. All right, unholy men. And it reads, lovers of their own selves. And that's what you have a lot of guys amongst the church. They're doing this for fame. They want to be seen and recognized. So you have men amongst the churches that are pretty much doing all the wrong things. And they're troublesome unto the actual believers. Okay? Because when you have phonies amongst the churches, it makes the true believers, look bad. All right? Verse 3 says, "Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, um, in Slovakia, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. It says traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. And these are all examples of what goes on amongst the churches. All right. It says having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. It says from such turn away. Right. One more time. It says having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much false prophets. It says from such turn away. Yeah, so pretty much you have to stay away from people like that. And this is why we don't deal with these other camps. All right. We stay away from them because there's a lot of we see a lot of ungodliness amongst them. All right. And this is what Paul is warning Timothy of. These things, these men with all these characteristics is going to be amongst the the churches, and you have to avoid people like that. 'Cause, ultimately they're false prophets. Okay, let's go to 2 Peter's chapter 2. 2 Peter's chapter 2, verse 1, and it reads, "But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction." Right. So there's false prophets. Okay. And we see that now. And we see two of the main false prophets, Deacon Hassan and Hakah, who changed they changing the name. The name is not Yahweh and Yahweh Shah. Bringing in damnable heresies, changing up the doctrine. Okay. And you have many Israelites many guys call themselves Israelites that's going astray from the truth. It says, verse 2, "Many shall follow their pernicious ways, and by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of." Right? Like I mentioned, how guys are changing the good doctrine, speaking evil of the doctrine, and what many people are following them. Every time things change up, people are changing up the doctrine and following these false prophets. And it reads, "And through covetousness shall with vain words make merchandise of you." And that's what you have. You have guys who are making merchandise of the congregations. They're doing this for to get as many followers as they can. The more followers they can get, the more fame that they can get, the more money that they can get from the people. Okay, so they're teaching the word for hire, teaching the word for gain, and not being sincere and truly serving the Lord. So it reads, verse 3, "And through covetousness shall they with vain words," vain meaning unsincere. So they're not sincere in their teachings. All right, they're not being sincere with the people. So it says, "Through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not." Right? So the Most High is going to bring swift destruction upon these individuals, okay, who are not sincere in pretty much being false prophets, okay? The destruction of false prophets is soon going to come. And we always see example of that, guys who teaching false doctrines, guys who are all about they self and seeking fame and position of power, and what the Most High overthrown them. All right, and we seen that with many individuals calling themselves Israelites over the years. All right. Let's go. Let's get one more scripture. Let's go to Matthew 7. This is Matthew chapter 7. I start from 15, and it reads, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." Right. And that's what you have amongst the churches, ravening wolves in sheep's clothing. They appear to be humble and acting like they're serving the Lord, but they're wolves. They're really trying to pull the people away from the Lord. All right. And make merchandise off the people and pretty much use the people for their own gains. All right. So they're scattering the sheep instead of bringing the sheep unto the Lord. So it says, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit." Right? So you should know who's who by the fruits, okay? Because a true man of the Lord, he's gonna bring forth good fruit. He's gonna go out there on the highways and byways, teach the correct doctrine. All right, bring the believers unto the Lord, waking up the elect, and having, the fruits of the Spirit, man, and having all the attributes of righteousness, charity, brotherly love, etc. But you know the false prophets by their bad fruit. Okay, let's read it again. It says, "Even so, verse 17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit." Okay, and we see these corrupt trees that's bringing forth evil fruit, these false prophets. All right, and the evil fruit that comes after their doctrines, their teachings, and how they present themselves. Okay, and what, and we see the patterns with all of them. The Most High always bring destruction upon them, bring them out of their position. All right. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewed down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruit ye shall know them. Right? So ultimately, those evil trees bringing forth evil fruit, these wicked men, they're going to be destroyed at the end. Okay, and ultimately they're going to be burned in that thermonuclear fire. All right. Well, with that, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS, and shalom to the elect.